The coffee mug slumped. Arthur watched it. One moment, solid ceramic, bright red, his favorite. The next, it drooped like a sad, forgotten candle. Steam still rose, but the shape was wrong, terribly wrong. It was not breaking, it was melting. His hand, halfway to the mug, froze midair. The kitchen was quiet, too quiet, only the hum of the old refrigerator, and now, a soft, wet sound, a plip. He leaned closer, his breath caught. The red glaze swirled. It mixed with the brown of the coffee, or what he thought was coffee. It looked thicker now, more like mud or clay. A small puddle formed on the checkered linoleum. Not liquid, but a soft, pliable mass. Arthur poked it with a hesitant finger. Sleep offered no escape that night, only twisted dreams. The kind that leave you feeling more exhausted than before you closed your eyes. Dreams of sinking into soft earth, as if the ground itself was swallowing him whole. And dreams of hands, giant and unseen, reshaping his world, molding it into something unrecognizable. He woke with a gasp. The bedroom was dark, but not silent. The silence was broken by faint, almost imperceptible sounds. Faint whispers seemed to crawl from the walls, like the room itself was alive and speaking in hushed tones, too low to understand, like secrets shared in the dark. He sat up, his skin felt clammy, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. The air was thick, heavy, almost suffocating, like a potter's studio after a long day's work. He strained his ears, trying to catch any discernible words. The whispers were not words, but more like sighs, or the sound of clay being worked, smoothed, scraped, manipulated by unseen hands. A shiver traced its way down his spine. He was not alone. He felt it, deep in his bones, a presence unseen but undeniably there, watching, waiting, as if the very walls had eyes. He fumbled for the bedside lamp, his fingers trembling. His fingers brushed against something cool, something that yielded slightly, like clay. He snatched his hand back. The lampshade. It felt different, almost alive. Days blurred into a smear of quiet terror. Arthur felt like he was living in a perpetual twilight, where time seemed to stretch and compress unpredictably. The once familiar rhythm of his life had become a dissonant melody, each note filled with an unspoken dread. Arthur moved like a ghost in his own home. Every shadow seemed to stretch too far, reaching out with invisible fingers that brushed against his skin, sending shivers down his spine. The shadows would twist into unnatural shapes, contorting in ways that defied logic and reason. They seemed to have a life of their own, mocking the very essence of reality. He would see a shadow of a lamp cast long and dark on the wall, but the lamp was across the room, untouched and unmoved. It was as if the shadows had their own agenda, separate from the objects that supposedly cast them. He would see a human-shaped shadow, tall and imposing, when he was entirely alone. These dark imprints danced at the edge of his vision, taunting him, whispering secrets he couldn't quite hear. They seemed to be alive, moving just out of reach, making him question every perception. Was it real, or just a figment of his overactive imagination? His reflection was a stranger. The mirror showed a face he barely recognized. Its eyes held a fear he recognized, a deep-seated terror that mirrored his own, and a hollowness that grew deeper with each passing day. He tried to leave, to escape the suffocating atmosphere. He opened the front door, hoping for a breath of fresh air. The world outside looked flat, like a painted backdrop. It was as if he had stepped into a two-dimensional world. The trees had no depth, their leaves unmoving and lifeless. The sky was a perfect, unblemished blue, too perfect, almost artificial in its flawlessness. He stepped onto the porch. The ground felt spongy, unyielding yet soft, like walking on a mattress. He took a few more steps. The perspective seemed off, as if the world was a poorly constructed set. The houses across the street looked like cardboard cutouts, flimsy and insubstantial. He felt a rising panic. He was trapped, not by walls, but by the very fabric of his reality. The world had become a prison, its boundaries defined by his own mind. The more he tried to escape, the more the shadows closed in, tightening their grip on his sanity. He was ensnared by the very fabric of his reality, a prisoner of his own mind. The discovery happened by accident, a serendipitous moment that would change everything. He bumped a small vase. It teetered precariously on the edge, then fell. He braced for the shatter, expecting a loud crash, but it landed with a soft thud and dented, like a piece of soft metal, or more accurately, like clay. He picked it up, feeling its unexpected warmth. It was still warm, pliable, almost as if it had just been molded. He could feel the give in it. His mind raced with possibilities. If the vase was clay, what else in his world could be? He looked around his living room, eyes wide with curiosity. At the bookshelf, the chairs, the television, all of it seemed different now. Was it all just clay? His perception of reality began to shift. He reached for a book. Its cover felt leathery. But was it really? He pressed his thumb into it. An indentation appeared. He could reshape it just like the vase. He could! A wild, desperate hope surged through him, filling him with excitement. If it was clay, he could fight back. He could reshape his world. He could change things too, mold them to his will, and create a new reality. The revelation came not with a bang, but with a slow, dawning horror. He was in his makeshift workshop trying to build something, anything. Suddenly, the light in the room changed. It brightened, became harsh, artificial, like a giant spotlight. He looked up. The ceiling, it was gone, replaced by a vast, blurry expanse. And then he saw them. Eyes. 2 enormous human eyes, staring down at him, unblinking, curious. Like a child peering into a dollhouse, or a scientist observing a specimen. A colossal shadow fell over him, the shadow of a hand. It reached down, slowly, deliberately, fingers the size of tree trunks, smudged with paint, with clay of every color. The hand hovered over his small clay world, his home, his prison.